If I told you that your whole life could be destroyed not by an accident, not by a breakup, not even by death, but by one person you didn't know existed, would you believe me? Probably not. And yet, that's exactly what happened to Layla. Her nightmare didn't start with a scream or a shadow. It started with a question that could freeze anyone's blood. How long do you think you've been watched? She had no idea the answer was too long. She read the message again, her fingers trembling. I found you. Not hi, not call me, not even a threat, just a cold, surgical statement, like someone marking their prey. Layla didn't know it yet, but this wasn't a warning. It was a countdown. Because whoever sent it didn't care about fear. They wanted something else. Something worse. And the most horrifying part? This wasn't the first time they reached out. It was the third. That's when the floor fell out from under her life. She froze in the aisle, her heart pounding so loud she could barely hear anything else. And the strangest part? This wasn't the first time she'd seen those words. It was the third. The first message arrived a month earlier, late at night, when she was home alone. She blocked the number immediately, thinking it was spam or some kind of prank. The second came a week later, same words, same cold emptiness. She blocked that one too. But now, a third message from a third number in the middle of a crowded store. Someone wasn't trying to scare her. Someone was trying to reach her. Layla left everything in the cart and walked out, trying to act casual even though her hands were shaking. She felt eyes on her. Not real ones, just the paranoia creeping up her spine. But deep down, she knew this wasn't paranoia. This was a warning. On her walk home, something else happened, something that made her blood run cold. Everywhere she turned, she noticed the same car. A dark sedan. Tinted windows. No plates on the front. It didn't follow closely. It didn't speed up. It just existed behind her. Quiet. Slow. Watching. Layla quickened her pace, but the car didn't stop. That's when she realized something terrifying. This wasn't random anymore. This was personal. She rushed into her apartment, locked the door, closed the curtains, and tried to steady her breathing. But then she noticed something she had missed completely, a small folded piece of paper left under her door. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. Inside was a single sentence. I know what he did, and now you need to know too. Her stomach dropped, because only one person in her life had ever protected her by hiding the truth, her ex-boyfriend, Aaron. The man she once wanted to marry. The man who left her without explanation a year ago, disappearing overnight like smoke. She tried not to think about him, tried to move on, tried to believe he simply stopped loving her. But this note, this message, this silent watcher in the car, her life wasn't just being invaded. Her past was breaking its way back in. That night, Layla couldn't sleep. She kept checking the peephole every few minutes, even though she knew nobody would be standing there. She tried to convince herself that she was overreacting, that she was imagining shadows. But her phone didn't care about her denial. At 2:17 a.m., it buzzed again. A message from a fourth unknown number. This time it wasn't words. It was a photo, a blurry picture of a man standing outside her window. Layla's chest tightened so hard it hurt. She grabbed the phone with shaking hands, zoomed in, zoomed out, looked again just to be sure. And that's when the real shock hit her. The man wasn't a stranger. It was Aaron, her ex, the one who left, the one she thought she'd never see again. But he looked different. His eyes were darker, his expression empty, his clothes dirty, torn at the sleeve like he had been running from something or someone. But the most terrifying part wasn't his face. It was the timestamp. The photo wasn't taken last night, or last week, or last month. It was taken 20 minutes ago, right outside her window. Layla stumbled backward, her heart slamming against her ribs. She ran to the window and pulled up the blinds with trembling fingers. Nothing. No one. Just the empty street below.
But someone had been there.
Someone close enough to take a picture. Someone close enough to leave the note. Someone who knew Aaron. Suddenly, everything made sense. The messages, the warnings, the following car, the fear that gnawed at her for weeks. This wasn't about a stalker. This wasn't about a stranger. This was about a truth Aaron hid, a truth someone was forcing her to face. And the story would have ended there, except for what happened the next morning. Layla woke up to the sound of her phone buzzing relentlessly. 20 missed calls, all from unknown numbers, and one voicemail. She pressed play, and when she heard the voice, she dropped the phone. It was Aaron, sounding terrified, out of breath, whispering like someone was right behind him. He said one sentence before the voicemail cut off. "Layla, they're coming for you next." And that was when her world truly collapsed. Layla tried to convince herself the car didn't matter, that she was imagining patterns where there were none. But what normal driver follows a stranger 3 blocks, keeping the same slow, steady distance, never passing, never turning, never stopping? This wasn't coincidence. This was intention. And someone had chosen her. By the time she reached her apartment building, she wasn't just scared. She was shaking. But here's the thought that hit her the moment she closed the door. How long has this been happening? A week? A month? Or was she being watched long before the first message ever arrived? She didn't know what terrified her more, that she had become a target recently, or that she might have been living with danger for far longer than she ever realized. Inside, Layla locked the door, but locks don't protect you from a fear that's already inside your bones. And the truth was brutal. Danger doesn't knock. It enters quietly. It studies you. It waits. She moved toward her living room window and slowly peeked through the blinds. The street outside looked empty, calm, harmless, peaceful. But that's exactly what made it worse. Because when you know someone is watching you, the silence becomes a threat. The emptiness becomes a warning. And the darkness? The darkness becomes a promise. That's when she saw it. Not the car. Not a person. Something worse. A shadow, tall, narrow, perfectly still, standing directly in front of the street lamp across from her building. It didn't move. It didn't shift. It didn't walk away. It existed the way a predator exists, when it's testing its prey's reactions deliberately, patiently, almost curiously. Layla's pulse hammered in her throat. Was it a trick of the light? A branch? A person? Why wasn't it moving? But the real question, the one slicing through her chest, was far more terrifying. Was this the same person who sent the messages, or someone entirely different? She backed away from the window, her breath shaky, her legs weak. Her apartment no longer felt like home. It felt like a trap hidden inside a bigger trap. She needed to calm down, to think, to do something, anything. But before she could even gather a single thought, her phone buzzed. A new message, a new number, a new fear. It wasn't text this time. It was a video. Mia pressed play with trembling hands, and what she saw shattered her breath. The video was filmed from across the street, from the exact spot the shadow had been standing, and it showed her, Layla, standing in her window, looking out in fear. Someone had recorded her only seconds ago. Someone close enough to watch her move. Someone close enough to see her panic. Someone close enough to let her know. There was nowhere left to hide. Layla dropped the phone. It hit the floor with a dull crack, but she didn't care. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think, because there was only one question echoing in her skull, pounding louder than her heartbeat. How long had someone been standing close enough to film her without her noticing? Seconds felt like hours as she stared at the fallen phone, afraid to pick it up and see if another message had arrived. She didn't want to know.
She didn't want to see.
But fear has a way of pushing you toward the very thing you're trying to escape. She forced herself to lift the phone, and her blood froze. There was a second video. Shorter, closer, more intimate. With trembling fingers, She pressed play. The video was filmed from her own stairwell, the one inside her building showing her door.
Her door.
Just her door. Nothing else. At first, the camera held still, and then, after 5 seconds of silence, a hand appeared from the right side of the frame, slowly dragging across her door like someone tracing the outline of her existence. The fingers paused on the doorknob, turned it slightly, and then released. Layla staggered backward, pressing herself against the wall, her hand covering her mouth to stop a scream. Because that wasn't just a warning, that was a message. Someone had been inside her building. Someone had tried her door. Someone wanted her to know they could enter any time they chose. Her heart slammed violently against her ribs. She had to call for help. She had to call someone. But who would believe her? What would she even say? A stranger touched my doorknob. It sounded insane. But she knew what she felt in her bones. This wasn't a prank. It was preparation. She grabbed her phone again, but before she could even unlock it, it vibrated violently with another message. She didn't want to open it.
She didn't want to see.
But fear makes choices for you. She looked. It wasn't text. It wasn't a video. It was a picture. A picture taken inside her building of the stairwell below hers. And standing there in the dim yellow hallway light was a man. Hood up, face hidden, head turned just enough that it looked like he was staring straight into the camera. But the worst part wasn't his face, or his posture, or the fact he was inside the building. It was what he was holding. Her house key. Layla's stomach dropped so violently she almost collapsed.
Her key.
Her actual key.
How?
How did he get it? When did he get it? She checked her bag with shaking hands. Her key ring was intact, but one key was missing. One single key. He hadn't broken in. He hadn't picked the lock. He had simply let himself inside whenever he wanted. Her vision blurred. She wanted to scream, to run, to hide, but there was nowhere to go. She was trapped inside her own home by someone who had already proven one horrifying truth. If he wanted to be next to her, he already had been. But then her phone buzzed again, and this time, she almost fainted, because the message wasn't from an unknown number. It was from Aaron, the man who vanished, the man who broke her heart, the man she hadn't seen in a year. But the message wasn't what she expected. You need to trust me now. No explanation, no apology, no context, just those 6 words. And the next thing, a live location ping. Aaron was moving.
Fast.
Straight toward her building. Layla didn't know whether he was coming to save her, or if he was running from the same nightmare now coming for her too.